Right. I tell you what, I'll take it away. So first of all, everyone who's joined, welcome to the very first Behind the Business. My name is Carina Harvey, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm an identity and style advisor. I'm also an interior designer. I have been in the UAE for just over 11 years now, and my background is actually in corporate. So I've not been an entrepreneur for all of my business life. I've been an entrepreneur for about 2.5 years now. And Amanda, over to you.
Thank you. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Amanda Llewellyn, and I am one of the co-founders and partners at the Mortgage Boutique. We are a mortgage concierge service. I have been in the UAE just over 10 years now, a bit like yourself, Carina. Haven't been an entrepreneur before, been doing it for approximately 3 years now. I've always worked for businesses previously, and it's been a very interesting journey, to say the least.
And okay, I'm just going to set the context a little bit as well, because it is the first session that we're doing for Behind the Business, just in terms of why we have this series of conversations. So, I mean, if I speak from a personal perspective, first of all, and I'm sure you'll agree, Amanda, coming from corporate, I think going into the entrepreneurial world, it really is, to coin a song, a whole new world. There's often a gap around building that confidence in some of the areas that we need to build that confidence in order to become entrepreneurs in the first place. There's a lot of information out there as well, but sometimes there's not really enough information on that kind of messy middle, the journey to becoming an entrepreneur, and building all of the different skills that you need to.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of my main reasons for us wanting to do Behind the Business was to share with people the very steep learning curve that I've personally had, and I know that you have as well, but also to learn from other people to see how they're navigating it in a more kind of curated environment, I think, as well, where it's, you know, around more specific topics, because as an entrepreneur, you wear so many different hats. And for me, it's very much been a balance between working on the business as opposed to working in the business, and what that looks like from each perspective. I think that kind of nicely takes us into why we've chosen to talk on the topic today of networking, because that's very much working on the business. I think people, you know, it's not something that everybody necessarily feels comfortable with. I know I certainly was exceptionally uncomfortable when I first started networking. I think if people met me, you know, 4 years ago, before I'd even started networking, they would see a completely different version of me as to who they see now. But that's what I've had to do. I've had to show up for my business. It's also a case of that not everybody sees the value in it. Some people see it as a bit of a box ticking exercise. And again, it's all about, you know, your perception and how you approach it, and how intentional you are with it. So yeah, maybe we can highlight the kind of points that we're going to discuss today around networking. I don't know if you want to share what we discussed.
Yeah, so I think we're going to talk about the common misconceptions. So we're going to go through some of the common misconceptions around networking. We're going to talk a little bit about how we approach it, and then we're going to finish off with some of our goals as well. So really, this is just sharing some of our own very personal, but also very natural experiences that we've had as we've developed more and more experience networking as entrepreneurs. So I'll kick off with some of the misconceptions. I think, first of all, a lot of people don't necessarily feel that they need to have a strategy when they go into networking. And certainly when I first used to go into networking, I didn't really have much of a strategy. I just would kind of show up and hope for the best, really. And that's something that I've learned over time as well. There's a few others as well that I can go through, but should we talk about them one by one first of all, or how do you want to?
Yeah, I think with the strategy, exactly what you've just said, you just kind of, you start off and you wing it. So for me, I would go to the opening of an envelope. I'd go to everything I was invited to, because you want visibility. But then you start to realise rather quickly that actually it's not necessarily a numbers game per se. It's a quality over, or quantity, over quality, whereby actually if you have an approach, then you can stick to that, and consistency compounds results, right? So then you start seeing okay, what am I getting back from this? You know, people just think, oh, I rock up, I'll do my pitch. You know, let's be honest. And this is a conversation we have in all of the communities we're a part of. Does anybody go to a networking event to buy something or to be pitched at? No, they probably don't. And if they do, they're a very small minority, and it won't be every time they go networking. So it's really about, okay, how do I want to position myself when I'm in a room full of people? You know, maybe wait to be asked what your business is about. Maybe just talk about you first. You know, people, business with people, right?
Yeah. I think that's it. I think it's starting from the very top, isn't it? You've got to start to explore networks. In order to explore them, you need to actually start to think about what is your intention behind your networking. So you need to go out and collaborate with people, and pick your community where you feel you have that affiliation with people in the room as well. You're not going to know until you step in the room, till you start having those open conversations, but just showing up and being yourself and naturally feeling that kind of energy. Don't go in, like you say, and start pitching to begin with, because not everybody is going to be your client. Otherwise, we'd all be operating in a perfect world, right? If that was the case. But, you know, in actual fact, it's better to get to know people and to think about who you're going to work with as well, because I think collaboration would be one of the biggest things to come out of networking.
Yeah, and you know, I like what you said about not everybody's going to be your client, but also you're looking for introducers, you're looking for collaboration. So that takes time. People aren't going to introduce you to their clients, to their best people in their network when they don't even know you, because it reflects on them. So then you have to take the time to build that relationship. And I love what you said about, you know, it does take time to establish the communities that work for you. So yes, absolutely. When you first start, you are going to be going to a lot of events. You're going to go to ad hoc events. You're going to go to regular community networking events. And through that process, I think this is where I noticed now, if I knew this, I'd be like, right, okay, I can have a strategy around building my strategy, if that makes sense. Because I said, okay, I'm being intentional with why I'm going to all of these networking events. It's because I want to establish the ones that I want to bury myself into. Because it's about intention, which you mentioned. You know, if once you've committed to networking communities, you have to be intentional on how you show up. It's not just about what you get. You need to be able to give. Sometimes, you know, you'll go to a networking event and you won't necessarily get anything, but you would have given a lot and you'd have supported a lot of other people, and it gives you credibility within the network, right?
Yeah,
You can't
go on, sorry.
It's fine. You just can't go with your hand out all the time. It doesn't work. People don't like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's also, I think, you know, build your strategy around who you want to talk to, but also stay open as well. So if you are sent lists of attendees, we go to a particular networking group where we get a full list of all of the attendees, so we can be very structured, we can actually be very targeted about who we want to talk to. But at the same time, it's about staying open as well, because you don't know who you're going to be introduced to as well. And the more you layer your connections, so if you go, and we just said, right, it's not just a numbers game. So don't go along thinking I have to speak to, you know, so many new people. Actually, it's about developing the relationships that you've already built. And the more you develop those relationships, actually, those people are going to bring people to you and say, hey, have you met so-and-so? That literally happened to me at a networking group just last week. So it's about staying open as well as having that focus before you go in there, I think.
Yeah, because I think then you get to that stage where your name is being spoken in a room when you're not there. Because those people that are in that particular community aren't necessarily going to be in this other same ones that you're in. You will cross over, absolutely. But that's the beauty of it. It means that you don't have to factor in one-to-one time with all of these people that you want to build a relationship. You can do it because every week, every 2 weeks, you're attending the same community events, which is a perfect opportunity to touch base with people, to build on those relationships. And then if you see an opportunity, yeah, okay, let's get some time together outside of this event. Let's factor that in. But if you don't, you're still at the forefront of their mind. They know who you are. They know that, you know, the service you provide, and they know that they're going to see you every other week. I love the communities that share the attendee lists. It's perfect because you get to see who you can catch up with. Again, you can be strategic in your time. If you wanted to catch up with that person and you were going to message them and then you've seen they're going to an event, great. It means that that's freed up time for you to do something else, and it frees up time for them to do something else. It's a win-win for everyone.
You and I talked about holding each other accountable as well.
Yeah. It does. Well, I said I'd show up. I said I'd see that person at the event, so I need to go now and be there because I said I'd be there. And then you probably end up having the best conversations with them. And you know, you might have a client for each other, you might have an introducer for each other, you just might have a good connect for each other. Yeah, it is. Intention's a huge piece when it comes to networking, definitely. And I think, you know, just moving on to, you know, like moving more into the whole approach, I personally have 3 networks that I am committed to. And they all have very different offerings, but one fundamental element which flows between all of them is about building the relationships. You know, friendship fuels the business. You know, it's one of the taglines of one of them, and the other one is very much we're a family here, and you know, and it is that the relationship is key. And I think so for me, having those 3 networking pillars, it gives me that stability around my networking strategy and my approach, and I know where I need to show up when I'm going to show up. You know, and you do meet new people all the time. People bring guests, they've got new members joining. You know, it's not that you don't get to meet new people. Seeing familiar faces is never a negative thing, and this isn't one of the other misconceptions. I think people think, oh well, I'm not going to that event because I know everybody there. Yeah, but when's the last time you saw them? And now you've got to reach out to the people that you want to see individually, because you could have gone to the event and seen all of them. And you might have been able to do some great introductions between them when you were there, which is, again, you've just given back a little bit. So by not showing up, you're not able to give back, which means you can't expect to get anything, in my viewpoint.
Yeah. And I think you and I are a really good example of that whole friendship piece as well, because we actually became friends first, right? So we kept showing up at the same networking groups, and the more and more we got along, we became friends. But through that friendship, we learned more about our values. We learned more about the fact that we have so many shared values, so many shared approaches to how we network, to how we build our business. And then also that helped me to learn more about what you actually do and why you set up your business, and exactly the same vice versa. So I think just building that kind of relationship first is everything.
Absolutely. We've really only learned more about each other's businesses as our friendships blossomed, because we genuinely want to, and we see opportunity for collaboration. We're fortunate that actually we do want similar clients as well, so we can support each other and each other's clients with the services that we provide. But first and foremost, we just struck up a friendship, and we enjoyed seeing each other at the same networking events. Hi, oh, lovely to see you again. Because who doesn't like to see a familiar face? Like, it's welcoming, because you know, networking can be daunting. One thing I would say is you know, when people come over and they say, oh, sorry to kind of encroach on your conversation or your group of people, but I always say that's a prerequisite about a networking event. You're there, so you can just go and dip into a group and a conversation if you want to, because people are open, they're welcome, because that's what they're there for. That's the whole point. It's not like being in a bar at the weekend. It's a completely different setting. But also, if you just, you know, if you are going to, you know, insert yourself into a conversation, again, it comes back to the pitching at people. Go in and just say, hey, how you doing? Like, talk about yourself. How's your week been? You know, the usual questions. Yeah, how long have you been in the UAE and that? But it hasn't always got to come down to what people do. You might not ever need their services, but if you like them, you might know other people that need their services, and then you will connect them with other people. So it's not about, oh, learn what their service or product is and is it of interest to me, yes or no. Get to know the person, because the person could be of interest to you. Even if they don't become a friend, they can become a good networking associate, and that's key.
Yeah. I also think as well, I just want to lead into the fact of a little bit to do with mindset as well, because we've talked a couple of times now about how it's not always comfortable, and especially when you're first networking for the first few times, and you can find it very, very daunting. But I think it's about, so first of all, leaning into your own approach, right? So there are some people that are amazing at working the room, and there are some people that much prefer to just go along and target people, talk to a few people and feel that that's enough for them. I think it's important to understand which of those realms you exist in, because otherwise you're going to overwhelm yourself from the outset. Also think about the mood that you're in as well, because I kind of flip between those two. So definitely I base my networking, I guess, on how I feel that day. And then I think the other thing I was just going to say is also around mindset as well. You know, thinking about like the observation theory, where if you think about it, where your energy flows, that's what you create essentially. So if you're going to go into a room and you're going to think, oh, well, no one's going to talk to me, or I'm not going to enjoy this, well, actually that's going to become your reality, because you're going to put that out there. So think about the things you're also saying to yourself before you step into that room as well, I think is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks different every time. That's the thing. It's not a rinse and repeat. It very much, you know, depends on what you've got on work-wise, how business is going, what things are going on in your personal life. And it's okay to just say, yeah, I've shown up today, but I'm just going to be a wallflower today. I just want to be here because this is my commitment and I want to stay committed, but this is how it looks for me today. And that's okay. You know, it's show up however fits you on that day. You haven't got to constantly be a positive Polly. Hey, I'm here, you know, smiles and all. Don't get me wrong. I very much think one thing I would say to people is smile more when you network. You look like some people look like it's torturous for them. They're miserable. But the thing is, if you just catch people's eye and smile at them, it will just strike up a conversation naturally. And it puts you in a more open, energetic position. People then want to approach you. They'll just start a random conversation with you. And it just flows a bit better. So I think be a bit mindful of your body language as well, which again will be different depending on the mood you're on. But ultimately, if you're warm, smiley, open, to whatever level you want that to be on that day, then that's definitely going to open more doors for you to build those relationships. And I think as well, it doesn't matter necessarily how you show up every time, but just showing up gives you credibility. It also shows a commitment. I think for me, when people are prepared to take time out of their business working day to work on their business versus working in their business, it really shows that they're intentional already being there. And it kind of sets the tone. So they're not just there to have a coffee. They're there to either, you know, share something that's pivotal in their business that they want to create awareness around, or whether they want to invest in those relationships that they've created, and as you said, continue to build on them.
An important part. I feel like time is running out, but an important part of that is also following up with people as well, just after you've met them. And even if it's someone who you had the briefest of conversations with, you never know, like we just said, where that conversation is going to go, right? What that's going to become. Maybe you're going to collaborate with them in the future. Maybe you're going to put them in touch with somebody else, and you're going to support two different people in a connection. So I think following up is absolutely key as well.
I always say that the fortune's in the follow-up, and it is indeed. I think that's quite a nice little note to kind of wrap things up on. I think that hopefully our shares today have given people just a little bit of insight on how to start their networking journey, but then how to progress through that as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? We just want to give people a little bit of food for thought. I think I was just sort of writing down some of the key things that we're going to wrap up on, but I think, you know, it's about setting the intention, thinking about your focus, thinking about having an open mind, and showing up as the best version of yourself as well, thinking about your mindset, thinking about your body language, as you said, and thinking about how you follow up afterwards as well, and keep showing up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, it's been really good to chat on this day. Hopefully everybody else has enjoyed it, and hopefully there's a little takeaway for people in there, whether it's around strategy, their mindset, you know, their energy, or their perception even of networking as well. So yeah, thanks to everybody for joining us today on our very first of the series.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And just to remind everyone, we're going to be holding this every 2 weeks. We are going to change up the topic. If you'd like us to revisit networking in any way, if you have further questions, obviously we can. But we'd love to hear your ideas as well for any other topics you have related to entrepreneurship in any way, our experiences, and how you think we might be able to help. So hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Amanda.